Bam 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 bam. That's enough, Reggie. Welcome everyone to the Buttery Show, where we discuss all kinds of movies for your viewing pleasure. I'm Mike. That's Miguel, and we are here to discuss the one of the greatest animated films of all time, just in time for its 20th anniversary. The one, the only, the second of its kind, Shrek 2. And yeah, boy, and in case you're all wondering, this movie came out in May 15th in the Cannes Film Festival in 2004. So in a sense, tomorrow will be its 20th anniversary as of the time of this recording. Although if you want to talk about international release, that we're going to have to wait till Sunday. But 20th anniversary. Can you believe it? 20 years since this film came out. You all right, Miguel?
Yeah, I'm all right. I hear you.
Yeah.
You're just kind of frozen on your end.
Oh, that's weird. But yeah, like, what are your how do you feel about it being 20 years since this movie came out?
Time really has flown since I think I remember like seeing this in the theaters. It was like a year after I graduated high school. So yeah.
Yeah. For me, man, I started middle school. I was finishing my first year of middle school that year. Yeah, and I've seen trailers for it. I was like really concerned because unfortunately he had to go far, far away, and he'll be right back in a minute. But for me, I saw trailers for this movie, and low key, I was a little bit concerned about the movie doing, well, because the first one was great, but sometimes sequels to animated films aren't as good as the original. So but when I saw this movie in theaters, I was blown away.
Yeah, it's not often you see a movie sequel do better than the first.
Yeah, no, for real though. In fact, this is actually one of the oldest DVDs I have.
Nice.
This is probably like maybe the 4th DVD I've ever collected. Maybe the 5th. The first movie was Bionicle Mask of Light. Second was Powerpuff Girls the movie. Third was Spider-Man, the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man. So I think this might be the 5th movie I ever kept. So this DVD is, it's almost 20 years old. Yeah. Can you believe that this disc
for a long time?
this is back when DVD cases had these little clips on the sides in order to keep them close. Oh man, yeah. This disc right here is super old. I can't get over that. Oh man. And yeah, this is probably one of my most rewatched DVDs. I mean, obviously there's You Don't Mess with the Zohan, which I watched like 50 times when I had all 4 of my third molars removed. But that's a different circumstance. But yeah. As far as casual rewatching goes, I think this probably had one of the highest mileages along with Spider-Man.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's get into this film. So it's a 2004 sequel to the original Shrek movie, and yes, in this past week since we did the first movie, I did watch I did read the book. It was kind of funny. I'll definitely say I did like the movie better because it just outdid stuff, but it did have like the overall premise right, where it's like, oh yeah, the princess in the book is also super ugly, but they're made for each other. So it's like, yeah, that's something that they did right with the Shrek movies as far as
That's true.
yeah. So this movie, 90 minutes long, first released in May 15th, 2004 in the Cannes Film Festival, and then released in the United States in 4 days later on May 19th. It had a budget of $150 million. Would you like to guess its box office?
Well, considering I like to think it surpassed the first one, I want to say like maybe 600, 700 million.
Oh boy, you might want to sit down for this one. $935.5 million.
Whoa.
That's more than 6 times its budget. And if we go back to the original film, let's see. The original film made roughly the same amount in terms of like multiplication, but but what's really interesting is the sequel had about double the budget, and it had double the box office. So in terms of profit by percentage, it's Shrek 2 is a little bit higher, but dang, that is an insane win back. I am genuinely yeah. So going into this film, it reprises Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz as their original characters, Shrek, Donkey, and Fiona. And of course, we get some returning characters too, such as Pinocchio, Three Little Pigs, The Three Blind Mice, The Big Bad Wolf. But we're also introduced with some new talents, such as Julie Andrews as Queen Lillian and John Cleese as King Harold.
Yep, and also Puss in Boots, played by Antonio
Banderas. Yes, yes. So let's get into let's first talk about Antonio Banderas as the new headliner. So Puss in Boots, or Marquis de Carabas in the original fairy tale, was probably one of the most marketed characters in the movie, and rightfully so. To look at him in his little boots, and then he goes berserker mode. It's like pray for mercy from Le Puss in Boots. And yes, they do make homages to El Zorro, which Antonio Banderas previously played. No, he was not. He was not Diego de la Vega, the original character. He was sort of the successor, the Terry McGinnis to Diego's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, which you did in the 1998 film, The Mask of Zorro.
Yep, and its sequel, The Legend of Zorro. And so I love that they have that callback, and because Marquis de Carabas is French, they try to stylize his hat and boots to be more musketeer in design. But with that in mind, I love how he says that one line, "Tonight, I will repay my debt," because that is something that you would hear from an Alexander Dumas line.
True.
Yeah. So the premise of this is Shrek and Fiona are spending their honeymoon. Fantastic soundtrack, Accidentally in Love, when they are interrupted, not by Donkey being too comfortable squatting at their home because Dragon is off in a way, but rather by a fanfare telling that Fiona got a summons. Now she has to go back to her home far, far away. Yeah. And of course, her parents are played by Julie Andrews and John Cleese. So Julie Andrews is most famous for playing Mary Poppins, and would later go on to play the Queen in Princess Diaries, which I still have to wonder, why is Stan Lee in the sequel?
That's what I wonder too, yeah.
Yeah. So what were some of your favorite Julie Andrews performances?
Well, of course, yes, Mary Poppins was a classic. And yeah, I did like her role in The Princess because, yeah, my little sister had that movie on VHS, so I wound up seeing a little bit of that. And other than that, I don't really remember too many of other roles.
Yeah. For me, one of my favorite scenes from Princess Bride was the part where she was knighting the police officer and the bus driver. Yeah, that was kind of fun. That was kind of funny. Yeah. Yeah, and for John Cleese, wow, what hasn't John Cleese been in? The main
Monty Python.
Exactly, Monty Python. One of my most favorite Monty Python films was The Life of Brian, honestly. And honestly, I think it shares Shrek 2's pattern of being a sequel that surpasses the original. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah. And also, yes. I also like his role in Rat Race, which he was alongside his fellow Brit, Mr. Bean.
I loved him in Rat Race because and I was gonna bring that up because you got these high rollers that are betting on the most imagine a real life version of the TV show Bonsai on G4. It's like you got all these maids like trying to dead hang from curtains, and it's and all these high rollers are betting on which one will fall off first, or it's you think that there's a turbulence on an airplane that they're using to get to Silver City, but turns out it's part of yet another wager. It's like Mr. Abubu threw up first, so Mr. Chang, you won the bet. Yeah, and of course he's the only member of Monty Python to appear on Doctor Who.
True.
Yeah, but of course, my most favorite Monty Python joke with John Cleese was, "This is an ex-parrot."
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, no, I love that one. Yeah. So John Cleese as Harold, what was your impression of these two characters when you first saw them in theaters?
I thought, wow, they were pretty spot on with the casting for casting Fiona's parents.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I found really interesting and off subject is how, in Fiona's room, there was this poster that said Sir Justin, because obviously it's making fun of the NSYNC craze. But what's really funny is that in the third movie, Justin Timberlake would actually play a character in the movie. But
who would have thought?
Yeah, and what I found really interesting is that aside from the joke, once they get to Far Far Away, they play Funky Town, and the entire Far Far Away is a parody of Hollywood mixed with Rodeo Drive, and it's so speaking as someone who lives in LA, the references are really funny to me. I mean, but of course everyone's in for a rude awakening when you have these doves flying in the air, like the ending of Big Fat Liar, only to reveal that it's two ogres. Yeah. It's just called Two Ogres. Yeah, no, it's obviously they're in for a shock. And yeah, so they had an awkward dinner, hilarious awkward dinner, but of course, Harold finds out that he has a visit from someone who made an offer that he can't refuse.
Pretty much, yeah.
She is the godmother, the fairy godmother. And so Fairy Godmother and Prince Charming, and the two of them are played by Rupert Everett and Jennifer Saunders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Jennifer Saunders is famous for being in 2 episodes of The Young Ones. She was in the comic strip Presents as multiple characters. She was in an episode of Jukebox Jury, absolutely fabulous as one of the creators. She appeared in one episode of Roseanne, and 2 episodes of Friends. Let's see, Let Them Eat Cake. She appeared as herself on Top Gear, Loose Women, Graham Norton Show, The One Show. Let's see. She was in Boys in the Dress, Josh, Saturday Kitchen, The Simpsons in one episode, Looking for Mr. Goodbart. And as far as films go, she was in Muppets Treasure Island, Eat the Rich, absolutely fabulo, Spice World, believe it or not. So, wow, In Sync, Spice Girls, 1996. Let's see, she was also in Isn't It Romantic, Sing 2, Death on the Nile as Marie Varna Choulier. And she was, and her final role so far is something called Motherhood. And she got plenty of writer credits on top of that. So, were there any particular roles you remember her being in?
Primarily, yeah, Muppet Treasure Island. I mean, I did watch a lot of the Muppet movies growing up.
Yeah, I would say that's the one for me as well.
Yeah, that was her in Spice World.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that to this day I still haven't seen Spice World. I have the album, but what's really
I've seen it.
Yeah, for me it's like at the time I dated someone who was really into that movie. Needless to say, I got into Spice Girls because of that someone. Yeah, but I still haven't seen Spice World. And later on, Josie and the Pussycats came out, and they had more or less a similar premise. But because I already watched the Josie and the Pussycats cartoon, I was more drawn into that. But they're practically the same film. They both have Alan Cummings.
Pretty much.
It's crazy that they both have Alan Cummings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and of course, Prince Charming is played by Rupert Everett, who is a known lookalike of Dermot Mulroney. So much so that SNL made a joke about that. And he's been in a lot of things, including playing Dr. Claw in Inspector Gadget. He played Oberon in A Midsummer Night's Dream, you know, the one where Tucci played Puck. Let's see. He was in Wild Thornberrys movie as the villain Sloane. Yeah. All I remember is that his name was Sloane. Someone like, wait, so your name is the Russian word for elephant? What? And it's ironic because he was hunting elephants in the film. He was also in Stardust. He made a comeback in Shrek the Third, naturally. He was in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, which is basically a British version of X-Men, if you really think about it. Let's see. He was in Slender Man, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. The less I say about that movie, the better. And as far as TV shows go, he was in Victoria's Secret fashion show as a host. He was in Arthur the King as Lancelot, Princess Daisy. He was in an episode of Black Mirror, apparently. Oh, he was in The Musketeers as Marquis de Ferron. Now, and anyone wondering, The Musketeers, the BBC series, fantastic. It had Peter Capaldi as the Cardinal, and like this came out like a year before he became the 12th Doctor and Doctor Who, and I have to say his performance in The Musketeers what really sold me on him being the Doctor. That's all I'm gonna say on that matter. Yeah, and of course he was in Serpent Queen as Charles V. Yeah. And of course this isn't the first time we see Prince Charming, because the movie opens up with Prince Charming like redoing the entire narration of the movie, And he's like, I've traveled through blistering winds and scorching deserts. I've climbed the highest tower of the castle, so that I could have the princess. Only to find out it's the big bad wolf.
Yeah, it's like she's on her honeymoon.
No, the honeymoon. Woo-hoo! Yeah, and what I find interesting is that when Harold is tasked with killing the ogre, we are met with two very interesting clues to a big plot twist that would pay off later on. So these are little moments that make me appreciate watching the movie multiple times. There was a part before meeting Fairy Godmother where Lillian says, "Listen, you should be easier on Shrek. I mean, we did fall off, but it's different. How is it different? Remember when we used to be young and wild and we danced along the lily pads? Lily pads." And then when he goes to the tavern that was run by one of the two stepsisters, who were, by the way, played by Larry King.
Wow.
Yeah, like what's really interesting is that Harold tries to get a drink, and sitting next to him is a frog, and she says, "You look familiar. Have I seen you before?" And he says, "Oh, no. You must be confusing me for someone else." And at first, the first time you watch the movie, you're thinking she probably recognized him because he's King Harold. Like, of course you're gonna recognize. I mean, imagine if, like, say, Barack Obama or George W. Bush were like hanging out at a Starbucks. Like, surely you would notice them, even if they weren't surrounded by Secret Service. But knowing Harold's backstory, now it's kind of an interesting thing to include into the movie, because turns out there's a different reason why that female frog recognizes Harold, and we're gonna get into that when we get later into it. And of course, this is where we are introduced to our favorite ogre slayer, Monsieur Le Puss in Boots. So, as we mentioned, Antonio Banderas was in the Zorro films, but also he's famous for having a lot of roles prior to that, including Requiem of a Spanish Peasant, The Matador, Law and Desire, Desperado, Philadelphia, Four Rooms, Assassins, and of course we got
Spy Kids.
And of course Spy Kids, where he plays the dad, and that was one of my favorite Banderas roles, not gonna lie. Yeah.
With Danny Trejo as his brother.
Yep. And Machete was his brother, and that's his name in the movie, Machete. And then later on, he would appear in the movie Machete as Machete. So
correct.
Spy Kids,
they were both directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, which means that Machete and Spy Kids are canon.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course he was also in The Other Men, You'll Meet a Tall Dark Stranger. He was also in Interview with the Vampire, and his presence in that movie inspired a certain character from another series involving vampires, Guillermo Van Helsing. Guillermo, you are my favorite familiar. Thanks, master. And of course, he ended up having his own spin-off series, Puss in Boots, and its sequel. He also appeared in Uncharted and Indiana Jones: Dial of Destiny. It's kind of interesting how in consecutive years he was in two Indiana Jones type movies.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
Yeah. And of course, later this year, he will appear in Paddington 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, what were some of your favorite Banderas roles?
Well, of course, I liked him in the Zorro movies. I liked him in Desperado. I also enjoyed, the Spy Kids movies. I mean, he made a good dad to like Alexa Vega and Daryl Sabara's characters. And of course, having Danny Trejo as your brother also adds cool points to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's really interesting is what's really interesting is that for those of you who are probably not aware, we do have a different channel where we talk about Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, etc. And in the current season of Super Sentai, Bakuagi Sentai Boom Boomger, one of the characters is actually named after Antonio Banderas.
Yep.
Yeah, like his name's literally Boomderas. Yeah. And he becomes the giant robot. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so like I really hope he gets to make some Zorro references throughout Boom Boomger. But yeah, no, and of course it's like Shrek inexplicably defeats him without having to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Apple, I am your mercy. From this day on, I owe you my life. Wait, the king sent you to kill me? The old king? See? Like, well, isn't that lovely? But yeah, so they go to Fairy Godmother's factory because he did find a business card that Fiona got from Fairy Godmother saying that a wish is a teardrop away. So they ended up having to go to her factory, and of course, just like Farquaad, Fairy Godmother has a prejudice against ogres, so much so that she even says, "Get those giant green sausages off of me!"
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, we get one of the greatest moments of corporate sabotage in fairy tale history, where not only do they steal the happily ever after potion, but we even have this epic like spy thriller sequence where they even play Secret Agent Man, and yeah, like it turns out that the dwarves working at the factory, they don't even have dental insurance, so dwarves need to unionize.
They do.
They need to unionize, guys. And of course, Shrek and Donkey ended up drinking the potion. Poos thankfully didn't. And of course, they, along with Fiona, pass out and wake up the next morning in an interesting predicament where Shrek is not only ogled by a bunch of girls, but also he's human.
Yeah.
In fact, he looks like a muscular version of Mike Myers, which yeah. And while Fiona turned back into her human form. But Donkey, stallion, baby!
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, like, what was your reaction to like these transformation sequences?
Like, I thought, okay, that's the happily ever. I mean, it's kind of like the whole ugly duckling syndrome, I guess you could say, turning into a swan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but much like in Cinderella, every magic spell comes at a limit. You must experience true love's first kiss by midnight in order to make the spell permanent. So, of course, they rush to far, far away in order to find Fiona, and due to a series of bad coincidences, Shrek is kept away from Fiona while Prince Charming pretends to be Shrek. But of course, like we could tell, like Fiona's not completely buying it because, human or not, Shrek would not act this way.
He would not. No.
No. But I do love how but when Shrek, Poos, and Donkey find out about the sinister plot to get Harold to use a love potion on Fiona to get her to fall in love with Charming, because let's be honest, looks don't matter, but personality does.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you got a love spell that makes you fall in love with the first person you make out with, I'm suddenly reminded of that scene from Billy and Mandy where what's his name? Nigel Planter falls in love with a chocolate bun bun.
Yeah.
I don't need her Feffany Pfeffer Pfeffer. I'm in love with this chocolate bun bun. Yeah, no, it's like, so we get probably one of my most favorite jokes in the entire series. Today on Nights, the far, far away Nights department is chasing after a thief. Is the cat out of the bag? And like they even like planted catnip on him.
Yeah.
It's not mine. It's like Shrek, I'm Shrek. Wait, take it back. Shrek, I'm Shrek. Whoa. So there's like a huge gala, and of course our heroes are trapped inside a giant well, where we get one of the greatest uses of Pinocchio's powers ever. I can't get part of. Don't Pinocchio. What should I say? Say you're wearing ladies' underwear. I'm wearing ladies' underwear. Are you? I most certainly am not. Boxers or briefs? Well, briefs. Hey, they're G-strings. It's like what color is it? Black. It's pink. Yeah, and of course they manage. It's like we need dough, lots and lots of dough. It's like, so what do you have in mind? Tell me, Gingy. Do you know the Muffin Man? Why, yeah, he lives on Drury Lane. Why do you need to know? We're going to need a lot of dough. And of course, if having wire foo from the Matrix wasn't fantastic enough in the first movie, now we have Ano Sensei's magnum opus, Gingy, Shin Gingy.
Mungo.
And of course, we get one of the greatest musical sequences of all time. Doing a cover for Bonnie Tyler in the film Footloose, Fairy Godmother plays the song calling out for a hero. And while that song is being sung, you got this epic Attack on Titan sequence with Mongo. It's like it's like more heat, less foam. It's a GG, be good. And of course, they managed to get all the way. They managed to get through the moat, and then they get chased by a group of knights. And of course, next to leave the squad is none other than Puss in Boots. He's like, "You go on ahead. Today, I repay my debt." And of course, he uses his greatest technique of all time.
His puppy dog eyes.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic! And the song ends perfectly with Shrek and Donkey just like landing like right there in the gala area. Shrek, Fiona, it is me. And it's like, oh my god, this is so well executed. Like, whoever wrote the script for this movie, they deserve an Oscar. It's like, this is like perfect romance action dramedy based on Push by Sapphire. I had to make that joke. Sorry, I had to make that joke because like 4 years later, people would always end the title of a movie just like with saying something 2 Electric Boogaloo, Shrek 2 Electric Boogaloo. People would later replace that with based on Push by Sapphire.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, no, like for me, it's like this is fantastic. And of course, this is like And of course, it's like, she drank the potion, Charming, kiss her. And of course, his kiss, and of course, like he kissed her. Shrek thinks he failed, but then she's like,
Headbutts him,
yeah, because turns out Harold switched the potions, which means next person to kiss Harold will be his true love. So Lily, you better moisten those lips because you might not be queen very much longer. But yeah, no, Fairy Godmother is noticeably pissed, so she uses one less Spectra beam. I'm just kidding. She tries to use an Avacadabra curse from Harry Potter, and of course Harold righteously tries to take the blow. It ricochets, hits her back. She turns into bubbles. And just when we thought Harold died, turns out he was a frog, just like Johnny Young Bosch. Just like Johnny Young Bosch, he's a frog. And so now those references make more sense. The lily pads, because he was a frog. That frog recognizing him at the tavern, not because he was the king, but because she knew him before he turned into a human. Turns out he also used a far, far away potion, happily ever after potion, which in exchange for having Fiona be betrothed to Charming, yeah, and it wasn't made clear, but I think she was also the reason why she became an ogre. Yeah. Oh, I just remembered there was a hilarious scene where Shrek reads her diary.
Yeah,
that was kind of funny. It's like it's some kind of girls' boarding school. Someday I will be rescued by my Prince Charming, and we will live together happily ever after. Prince and Princess Fiona Charming. Prince and Princess Fiona Charming. Prince and Princess Fiona Charming. Princess and Princess Fiona Charming. I'm like, oh no. But also, here's my question. How did the diary end up in her bedroom if she was in the castle all those years?
That's what I want to know,
Yeah. That's something I did not even notice until, like, I brought it up just now. That's crazy. But of course, we only have seconds left to alter fate. Yeah, that's Crush 40 lyrics. For them to kiss each other, so they both could stay human forever. But of course, Fiona says no because I do want to live happily ever after with the ogre that I married. Well written, so well written. Yeah. A lot. The thing, and I think The Office UK did a great job of saying it. Whenever you see a fairy tale, they always end with they live happily ever after and just fade to black. But the thing is, stories don't end there. Life continues. It keeps going and going and going. So what happens after happily ever after? And I love how this movie sort of tackles that, where it's like, yeah, no, I don't have any regrets with how our story ended and how it's continuing to go. And I very much appreciate that, But of course, we got to...
Another musical number, this time by Puss and Donkey, Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin.
Which, by the way, was the very first song I did for karaoke. Because of this movie, by the way. I was flat. She's an superstition. Dolls. I said so brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I could probably sing it now a lot better, but never got around to it. But yeah, no, it was perfect. And that's where we close off the movie. But if you watch the bonus content on the DVD, which by the way aired on ABC at one point, you would know that it continues a little bit where Puss and Donkey are still like singing "Livin' La Vida Loca" by like after the party has long ended, and out of nowhere, Simon shows up out of nowhere. It's like, hold on, Simon, the competition hasn't started yet. Well, I'm sorry, I can't help it but be judgmental. Welcome to Far, Far Away Idol. And of course, we get a bunch of characters do their own little numbers, some better than others. So like, for example, you got Puss in Boots doing a fantastic job doing These Boots Are Gonna Walk All Over You by Nancy Sinatra. They got Captain Hook singing Hooked on a Feeling by freaking yeah, and of course Prince Charming singing I'm Too Sexy. I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy, yeah. Let's see who else was there. And of course Donkey and Dragon, who have kids now, by the way. Yeah. Mutant Dragon Donkey babies. The two of them sing Burn Baby Burn of Disco Inferno. And of course, breaking the rules. You got Shrek and Fiona singing What I Love About You. What I love about you. You hold me tight. Yeah.
At the end of the movie, you also get to see Shrek and Fiona interacting with their kids.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's in the next movie.
I thought it was at the end of number 2. Like we see them interacting with, like, yeah.
No, because remember, Fiona's pregnant in the third one.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah, but and of course in the DVD version, you vote on who wins Far, Far Away Idol. But in the ABC airing, they just left that as a cliffhanger because like you have to buy the DVD in order to vote. Oh yeah, and also Pinocchio sings "Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto" by Styx. Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto. Yeah, and so you decide who do you think wins Far, Far Away Idol, and that's how the movie ends, and plus bonus features.
Oh yeah, I love those bonus. Those are funny.
Yeah. So what are some of your most favorite scenes in Shrek 2?
Well, of course, I like that when they're like having dinner with like Fiona's parents for the first time, and they're in that old argument like Shrek, Fiona, Harold, Fiona, Donkey. And of course, yeah, the whole Mungo assaulting the castle to get to Fiona.
Yeah. No, there's no shortage of fantastic scenes.
Like when they're all turning. Yeah. And when like they're all Shrek and Fiona are turning back into ogres, and you see Donkey chaining back from his tongue, you're like, oh no. Yeah. He's all like upset about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Donkey is like upset that like he's turning back into a donkey because I'm a stallion, baby. Yeah. Yeah. There was even a joke earlier when Fiona finds Donkey and Puss, and like she thinks that Shrek turned into Puss. It's like Shrek, but you, I could be. Yeah, and what's funny is like he was like licking himself in that scene, so that was kind of like, like it's hard to pick a favorite scene in this one because there's so many great ones. But yeah, no, I would have to agree that like the real standout was the part where Mongo was storming the castle and they were playing the song. Calling out for a hero, and I love how like even like Prince Charming had that rose in his mouth, like when they were dancing together. Like it was just so well choreographed. And again, like this is an animated film, a CG animated film no less. And this was back when CG animation was more difficult than hand drawn animation. So. Oh, yeah. So like getting all those moves down, getting them perfectly timed. It's like I'm impressed with the entire cast and crew involved in the making of this film. From the voice talent, the writing talent, the animators, the soundtrack, fantastic stuff. Oh, and here we go. We got the little boots. Yeah, no, it's no. There's as far as animated films go, this is this has to be one of my most favorite animated films of all time. And like I said, like this probably over one of the few instances where an animated sequel overshadowed, because here's the thing, it's like take Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. No one cares about that. Aladdin 2. No one cares about that. What's it called? The Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas. A niche group of people might love it because Tim Curry plays Forte.
Yeah.
But if Forte was not in there, would you really care about a Christmas midquel? That's direct to video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as animated sequels go, like there aren't that many good ones. I think the one outlier at the time was Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that like Shrek 2 joined Toy Story 2 on the pantheon, thus continuing the epic rivalry between Pixar and DreamWorks. Also, I'd like to take a moment to appreciate the fact that Shrek 2 and Spider-Man 2 came out the same year, and then Shrek 3 and Spider-Man 3 came out the same year.
Who would have thought, man?
Yeah. No, that was hilarious. If only Shrek 1 came out a year later, that means all 3 installments would have come out on the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your most favorite song in their soundtrack? Because let's be honest, the soundtrack slaps.
Honestly, I'd have to say, Puss and Donkey's cover of Livin' La Vida Loca.
Yeah. For me, it's still calling out for a hero, but Vida La Vida Loca is a very close second. And like I said before, that this movie had such an influence on me that when I did sing karaoke for the first time, I did go with Livin' La Vida Loca because I love Puss and Donkey singing it, and I love like the character interactions between Puss and Donkey, and I love how like they will continue to interact with each other for the duration of the series. Let's see, and closing us off, what score would you give this film?
Yeah, Shrek 2 definitely deserves a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's pretty much a quintessential. It's one of the best sequels, I'd have to say, to any movie, period, animated or live action. I mean, it's stuff with the pantheon of like Terminator 2, Aliens, things like that.
Yeah, for me, I would also have to give it a 10 out of 10. Like the pantheon of movies that score a perfect 10 for me is very small. Everyone knows how strict I am with, or rather, how niche my scoring system is, to the point that a lot of great films stagnate at 9, and then certain movies need a certain je ne sais quoi to be elevated and ascend to the pinnacle of being 10 out of 10. And this is one such movie because it exceeded all my expectations. It stays fresh through and through. I could watch this 50 times and not get bored of it. Heck, I could watch it right now and not get bored of it. And I've seen it so many times, I didn't even have to like rewatch it for the making of this review. It's that classic. I mean, obviously, I do have Shrek the Third on DVD. I will have to rewatch it. But yeah, no, this movie was just fantastic. Okay, so people in the audience, let us know what you thought of this movie. How did you feel? Nematrix92 says a rare sequel that bests the original. Yep. Yeah, very few sequels managed to pull that off. I think Star Wars is one such sequel. For a lot of people, Spider-Man is such a film. Not Amazing Spider-Man, though, I think. But Banderas was an amazing actor. Yeah, absolutely. Like he was great. And I love his chemistry with Murphy. Yeah, no, their back and forth was fantastic. Like I love their straight man, funny man pairing. You know, it's just, it's not easy to form a really good comedy duo. And of course, we don't have Dana Carvey in Shrek, so So it's great that we have Antonio and Eddie together. Not saying Mike Myers wasn't funny as Shrek in this particular film. I'm just saying that as great as Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy were in the first film, Eddie Murphy did even better with Antonio Banderas in this film. At least that's my opinion, yeah. I would vote for Puss in Boots for Far, Far Away Idol.
There you go.
Nancy Sinatra, like, you can't go wrong with the classic. These boots are made for walking. That's just what they'll do. Arriba! One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. I love the backflips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is coming from a Power Ranger fan. All right, so that's it for this movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, click the bell icon to be notified for our latest videos, and share our video to all your friends and family that want to hear what we have to say about the Shrek franchise. It is Shrek Month. We already did Shrek 1. We just finished Shrek 2. We're going to do Shrek 3 and 4 in the upcoming weeks because it is the 20th anniversary of Shrek 2, and I'm so happy that we get to discuss this film the day before its debut in Cannes Film Festival. We've done other films in the past. We've done the Crow series. We've done video game movies, Naked Gun series, and we're going to do more movies in the future. Heck, we might even do John Wick this October for its 10th anniversary. Can you believe it? We got two great Keanu Reeves films, both having a decennial anniversary this year.
Yeah. Well, technically, Bill and Ted did have its 35th earlier this year.
Yep. Yeah. So we got Speed celebrating its 30th and John Wick celebrating its 10th. Were there any Keanu Reeves movies that came out in 2004 that are noteworthy? Well, we're going to have to look into that in a bit. But hey, it's a big year for a lot of films. Whether it's 94, 04, 14, maybe it might be 24. And of course, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming up. So, can't wait for that. So, hopefully I won't have to wait till 2034 to do that movie. But, can't wait. And of course, check out our sister channel, the Morphin Network, where it's Morphin time all the time. We are doing Ultraman Rube on Mondays. Yes, that's right. We finished Tiga this week. Kamen Rider Gotchard on Wednesdays, Bakage Sentai Boom Boomger on Thursdays, and Kamen Rider Kiva on Sundays. And of course, we got a lot of actor interviews, vlogs, etc. And of course, coming up, Morphicon. A lot of content for us to make, and of course, check out our personal content, such as where's it? Where can the people find you?
You can find me over on Instagram at that blue dinosaur guy.
Yes, and where you can find out whether or not Joey Swoll invited to the carne asada. And if you want to join my video game Seder, you can go to my Instagram at Boken_Kawato and on Twitch at twitch.tv/BokenKawato. With all that said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay hydrated, hug your emergency kids, hug your loved ones. Make sure to stock up on those green frosted Pop-Tarts or that green jelly-filled Eggo waffles or whatever it is they were cross-promoting, such as Baskin Robbins and whatnot. And we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. What I love about you, hold me tight.